Good morning and welcome. This is your host, Bob Pace, and here we are to fight CPS and hang on to our children. Um, I'm on twice a day, 7 days a week. I've been doing this since October 23. That's, that is now 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 months. That's a long time. And in 17 months, I've not missed a day to be here to help you with your CPS matter. I've talked to over 1,000 people in these 17 months, all from the United States and from 21 countries around the world. I've spoken to Indonesia, Bangladesh, India, Saudi Arabia, Libya, and then over in Africa, I've talked to Liberia and Sudan, and then Rwanda, Mozambique, and then several provinces in South Africa. Then up to Europe, I've spoken to England, Scotland, and Wales, and Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond to North America, I've talked to four provinces in Canada. I've talked to all the 50 states and the District of Columbia. And then I've also talked to Mexico, and then in the Grenada in South America. Then across the South Pacific, I've talked to New Zealand. And lastly, with the land down under, Australia, 2 states there. So that's pretty much around the world. And as I say, that's 21 states and, 21 countries and 50 states. So that's a lot of people. And everybody, including myself, has something in common. We were low income at the time we had the disaster. In my case, I, too, have been caught up in CPS. I've been fighting them for 15 years. I'm not an attorney, but I'm a loving father and a husband. I've helped raise 6 children, and then I have 42 years of marriage experiences and a lot of life skills, about 60 years of life skills. That's how long I've been working. Anyway, unfortunate to me that I had disaster waiting to happen, and I lost my job at age 60 in 2010, and through no fault of my own. And I was unemployed and had the hard task of trying to find work, which I'm still trying to find today, steady work like I had before. But they don't like to hire dinosaurs. I don't know. I don't feel like a dinosaur. I don't think I look like a dinosaur. And I'm still in pretty good physical condition. But anyway, we're here to help you with your matter, your CPS case. As people come into this room, I have people that have been longtime family members here that have been with me for a long time. Hello, JC Universe. I think you may have been in here before. I can't remember. I do need to put up a banner of how to text me a comment or a question about CPS. Please show me your first name and your city or county you're in, and then your state. And if you're from another country, include your province and country. If you don't have a province, that's fine. If you have a state, it's good too. But all the additional information. All of you, please start off with your first text message to have what is your case, be completed by your case. How did you get? How do your children go? What are your children? What kind of relationship? Where you're at now. Those kinds of things. Tell me about your CPS case and be as complete as you can so we don't have to play a battle of ping pong ball. Anyway, I'm here to help answer your questions, your concerns, and be a cheerleader for you that you need to fight for your family. It's the saddest part, this entity they call CPS. I call it the Child Protection Systems. It's systems of government agencies, that's a branch of social services, that are watchdog of our children from neglect and abuse. They're set up for procedural things. They have mandated reporters who are the professional people and work with children. your doctors, your nurses, your firemen, your lawyers. Well, not necessarily your lawyers. Sorry, I meant to say your law enforcement and your school administrators, your principal, the counselors, the teachers. Anybody that works with children professionally is mandated by law to report neglect or abuse, and they take a special training to learn about what is abuse and what is neglect. The other group of individuals or watchdogs are the lay people. Now, these are your everyday folks, like relatives, like your in-laws, your aunts and uncles and cousins, and then your family and friends and acquaintances, those kinds of things. Those are called the lay people that are not necessarily trained. The only problem with them is that they're 50% right on. The other 50%, they're not. And they use the CPS as retaliation against the spouse, or they get the children. It's sad how corrupt that part is. Now, with the mandated reporters, the professionals, they're about 75% on. There's still that 25% narrow that's not truthful. It's hard because you're considered guilty when they're out there investigating you. The first 24 hours when they call in, they have to investigate you. And they do so by either driving out, drive by, or driving, knocking on the door, and those kinds of things. And I have a rule number 3 that says do not answer the door. Do not talk to them. Do not let them inside. There's only certain ways to get in. 1, you give them permission, which you should never do. 2, there's domestic violence going on where the child's in danger. They're going to break in. And 3, if they have a court warrant and they have a warrant and they serve it upon you and you see the warrant, then you have to comply with what's on the warrant. But you got to make sure the warrant's legit because they have a lot of bad warrants going around. They're taking advantage of the general public is what CPS is doing. Their only interest, the bad ones, is about money. It's $1 trillion business. A $1 billion comes out to the state, and then from the state to the county, $1 million comes. And I know these kinds of things exist because I've had people tell me and so forth, like in Richmond, Kentucky, $1 million was sent from the state to Richmond, and Richmond couldn't account for the $1 million. They are investigating. So far, they found a social worker embezzled $400,000. That's a lot of money to embezzle. And I'm afraid to say there are a lot of social workers that are corrupt. And I'm really sorry you're going through this nightmare of events. Now, Jesse, what would you like to talk about, or where are you from, Jesse? And what is your CPS case? And anybody else is in the room? There's a lot of you in the room, and also where your case is and what you're up to and stuff. Now, I've come up with, Medina. Hello, Medina. I think you've been in before. You said, I received a youth in foster care, okay? Medical card for my daughter. However, my daughter is with me now. Oh, I'm confused. Okay, let's try that again. I'll try to read that again. Medina says, I received a youth in care, foster care. There's a medical card for your daughter. However, my daughter is with me now. Is your daughter the youth that was in foster care? I'm totally confused by that statement, Medina. I'm trying to understand it. What part of the world are you from? What part of the world are you from? Okay, your children were in the system for foster care and never were in the system. Who was never were in the system? I don't know. Okay, you're from Lake County, Illinois. That's good. Great. But your sentences are coming in backwards. Who was never in the system? Was you, the mom, never in the system? I mean, I'm confused what you're trying to portray here. I think you had a CPS case where the child protection system entity in Lake County, Illinois, had them. And was there an allegation made against the mother? Are you Medina the mother? Basically, fraud during the pandemic with the social worker collected funding for my children. Oh boy. Okay. Um so what kind of fraud are we talking about? What happened here? What were you alleged? Are you the mother, and how many children were you talking about, and what are their ages and so forth, Medina? I think you've been on before because the name rings a bell with me. I just don't remember the particulars of the case. I don't remember the particulars of the case. Mm. Okay, you're a mother with three children, and 15, 9, and 8. Was those the ages that they were taken, or is that the ages as of today? Okay, as of today. And so, how many years ago was the CPS case? And I want to thank for the thumbs up emojis. That's great. I love emojis there. Thank you from Amanda Burnett, and thank you from ABD Balhili Dan Denise Mushtop. All right. Thank you both for the thumbs up. Okay, your case was closed in January 2nd of 21. So your children were quite young when they were taken. Hello, don't complain. I remember you being in here before, and you were talking about how that child should be removed from the home. Now the mother's trying to put a restraining order on me. Oh boy. Now, are you having a relationship to the mother or to the daughter? I understood from talking to you in the past, you said there was a child that's being abused by this mother, and you couldn't understand why social workers didn't collect the child. Now they've collected the child. Now you're worried about your safety. Um, what are your relationship to this woman? Now, another way you can be interactive in this room is you can be a guest on my podcast. And I want to thank Grace, works hard behind the scenes. She's my show producer. And Grace can be reached at grace at vincentwdavis.com. Grace at vincentwdavis.com. You can email her, and also you can tell her what show you like to be on. I'm on twice a day, 7 days a week. So all you do is tell her, I want to be on Bob's night show. I want to be on I want to be Bob's Wednesday night show. I want to be on Bob's Monday morning show. Or I want to be on Bob's Tuesday evening show. So you just say evening or morning, and then you can say um, Monday through, um, it's 7 days, Monday through Monday, you know, Monday through Sunday. So I'm trying to say there. So email her and she'll tell you what you can do and not do and what you can say and so forth. Okay? So that's how to be a guest. And now I'm going to put my number up. Now my phone number is up and I'm taking calls right now. That's great. Don't complain. No relationship. So you have no relationship. It's 8 years. Okay. She's my ex. She's my ex-wife. We live 100 miles away from each other. I've seen her 2 times the last 3 years. Wow, she's right. Well, she wants to do intimidation. Intimidation. She's wanted revenge. You do have a relationship at one time with this woman. Hi, Crystal. It's good to see you again. You just got out of court. What is the news? I want to hear this. Trying to have me sign a contract, and I told him no. We're going to go do another hearing. That's good, because what is the contract saying? What is it? And who told you no? Was that your attorney? Was that your attorney? Good morning, Margaret. Good to see you. Yes, God bless. Like to hear more, Crystal. Crystal is sharing good news. She just got out of court and they tried to make her sign a contract. I don't know what the contract was about. So they got a continuance. So they're going to come back to court. I don't know if that's her court appointed attorney or attorney she hired. Margaret, are you set up to see Mr. Davis? I know it's raining right now, and I know you're coming down from north to south. So have you been able to hook up with Mr. Davis? Anybody can file a restraining order, but a restraining order won't stick forever because they have to prove that there should be a restraining order. There'll be a court date for the restraining order, which is trouble for you because you got to go there and defend yourself. I had one on me and I had to hire an attorney and it cost me a lot of money. It cost me something like $5,000 now. It's considered cheap to have someone represent you about a restraining order matter. Good. Hope that goes very well. Make sure you tell him that you talk to me all the time, Margaret. Tell Mr. Davis how much I've helped you and how you talk to me all the time and how my live streams are. Say a prayer for my son, the mother of the girls filed a restraining order, domestic violence with children, and he has custody of the kids. Wow. That's a lot in that one sentence there. Great, Margaret. Great. Okay. I'm here to give advice. I'm here to help you, coach you, cheer you on like a cheerleader, and how to fight your case, and whether you're in the United States or somewhere in the world. I'm open to anybody that's got a comment about CPS or they have a question about CPS. So I'm open to those two things. So that sounds great. Now, for you living close to where I live in California, it's been raining cats and dogs. Not that's figurative, but it's been raining hard. We've had some rain. So we got the sun out right at the moment, but there was some rain. So it's probably going to rain off and on. It's probably going to rain off and on. So it's hard when spouses are going against other spouses, Margaret. You know, Margaret says, my son has always provided and been a wonderful father. That's good to know. He's got a wonderful mother, you, Margaret. Oh, yeah, they always will do that. People's spouses will try to get control of the children and make that up, Margaret. Right, the right therapist and the right lawyer. You said it all in a mouthful there, Margaret. I still haven't heard from more details, Crystal, from you. And Medina, I never got finished with what you were saying. Um, that is the important thing, the right lawyer. I agree with you on that. Kyle Hancock, it's good to see you. CPS took my kids here in Missouri, and I was drug tested and clean. Now I have tested positive for PCP. How can this happen when I'm sober and never been seen PC a day in my life? Well, first of all, I'm not very good about drugs. What does PCP stand for? What kind of a drug is that? And that's terrible, Kyle. That's terrible. And what part of the country or the world are you from, Kyle? Um, Margaret further says, when I found Mr. Davis, I made him my guardian angel, and I have another guardian angel, and that's my therapist. CPS shows does not like her. They don't like Mr. Davis. Yeah, not too many people like Mr. Davis from social, from CPS. In fact, they use Mr. Davis's videos to help their their social workers be trained on to be careful about attorneys like Vincent Davis. So, he's given high remarks. Everybody knows he's good and he knows the law. They just can't cheat when he's around. Now, Kyle says you tested clean since October. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I thought you said you tested positive for PCP. Um, okay, you're from St. Louis, Missouri. I got a lot of you guys from St. Louis, Missouri. I think I have three of you, but that's great. That is great. Um, okay, Chris says PCP is angel dust. Okay. I've heard of the word angel dust. I know it's probably a narcotic like cocaine. Probably gives you a temporary high, but uh, uh, you're in St. Louis, Missouri. Okay, okay. You're in St. Louis, Missouri. Good, good. Or wet. I haven't heard the word wet as angel dust. But anyway, it's a narcotic that you've suddenly been tested for. Why is it showing up? Why do you think it's being showed up? And was this the CPS tester or was this your private doctor, your medical group test? Because CPS has their own and they fabricate things. They lie. They lie. I believe so, Margaret. Um, Kyle, they may be lying to you. It's a false positive. You see, all people should do their medical drug screening through their own private doctors and their appointed person to do so because you can't trust a CPS medical test or a CPS anything because they do lie and they do cheat. They do lie and they do cheat. Hmm. Hmm. Well, some of you started out this morning with a lot of questions. You gone quiet. Crystal, do you have anything more to tell me? Um, so far, I've had Kyle and Margaret doing the talking. And Medina, I'd like to know more. I'd like to know more about your case, Medina, if I can help you out there. And also let me see here. Kyle Hamrock, more from you too, please. And then don't complain. I'd like to hear more too. Um, okay. It's now, we're about halfway through the show. Okay. We got 30 minutes left. I got my phone number up there. I do want to take time to tell you that we need support of this live stream to keep it going. There's operation costs and so forth. And we need you to help support by subscribing to our YouTube channel, CPS Defense Strategies Consultant Vincent Davis. You go there and join it. We're trying to put together a newsletter, $1.99 a month newsletter. In there be articles by me and then also articles about Vincent Davis and other people that talk here on the live stream, here. And then there, there is a good thing that Vince can talk about. He has a book called, How to Get Your Children Back and How to Fight CPS. So That's a real good thing. There's all the times changing, and a lot of things are coming in. Um, Let me go down here to further what Margaret's saying here. She's excited about speaking with Mr. Davis. I know you are. Be calm. Write down your questions. Don't try to shoot from the hip. Write your question, prioritize them, and go one by one. And make sure you thoroughly understand what he's saying. He's very patient and he will talk to you. Oh, it was done the Quest lab. Okay, that's where you're having your drug testing done is through the Quest. Well, that should be a pretty legitimate outfit there. But sometimes people make mistakes. They sometimes make mistakes. Cal says we had a family adopt our children after we ran with our kids. We were charged with a misdemeanor interference, so we were locked up for a little over a month. The foster father is a family attorney and, oh boy, and to have contact with us and made it very clear they wanted to adopt our kids. Well, if you don't want to have your kids adopted, you don't have to be forced to do that. That's terrible, Kyle. I mean, you ran with your kids. Again, that's terrible. That is terrible. Okay, good. You refuse, and that is good, Kyle, because of your children. When uh, when you go and get married and you have children, you have a family. That's what you always dreamed about. That's what you always that is definitely a bond of family. There's nothing stronger than a mom and dad that raise the children of the best parents of biological parents. And it's a rough road raising children and having families. You don't study it in high school. I mean, they should have it as a class in high school and again at college about how to do marriage and how to take care of your finances and those kinds of things. There's so many things they can do with life skills that help everybody. And you ran to protect them because our daughter is nonverbal autistic. I understand that. Um, so when they caught you, they charged you with a misdemeanor. Was there a warrant or a court order that said you had to turn over the kids? Did you have a warrant or a court order? Kids with special needs, they're really abused in foster care. They're not taken care of by their special needs because foster care people don't know anything about needs and they certainly don't know um, about a lot of other things too. So, but there are good foster parents out there. I have one that visits this room regularly. Her name is Betty Joe from Montana. She's a wonderful woman. In fact, she took in a 4-year-old the other day that his parents were killed in an auto accident. So she took care of him until they found one of his family members is going to adopt him. So I'm telling you, there are some really excellent foster care mothers, and she's one of them. Well, then how did they arrest you if you're never served with a warrant? I mean, what was the charge? What was the charge? You said that the rest you put in jail, but they got to have a charge. I tell you, these police and the social workers take the law out of their hands a lot of the times, and that is really tough. That's really, 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 really tough because that's why I say my rule number 3 is you never answer the door. You don't know who's at that door. And if you answer the door, you could be shot. There have been several people recently. There was a man in Gainesville, Florida, that was shot point blank by a sheriff 5 times, and he died while talking to his fiancee on FaceTime. Then there was a lady doing the dishes, had a police, this is in um, LA County, California, and he offloaded in her face and shot her dead. Again, it was 5 bullets, just like the other man's doing there. And then the third one was a child who okay. Now Kyle said interference was we're charged with because we're interfering with CPS taking custody of their children. Okay, you're trying to interfere. How are they interfering? I mean, if you and the children are gone someplace and you've not spoken to them, they have no warrant out there for their children, you don't have to give them up. They really are stretching the law. They're really stretching the law. Now, there's another way you can speak to Mr. Davis, several ways. One of the easiest way to talk to him, our attorney, is to call in or be a guest on my live stream. If you're a guest or you call in and your live stream, um, now, if you call in or a guest, you get a free 15-minute private consultation with Mr. Davis. And I was going to have a lady today call in, and I don't see her yet. And then for $60, you can have a 30-minute private Zoom consultation with Mr. Davis. All you have to do is go to the website, https:// candidly.com/apptsvwd/Bob Pace. So those are 2 ways. A third way to talk to us is to call into our office number 888-888-6582. And you can speak to Mr. Davis. Make sure you tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And you can tell him what you need. He'll gladly talk to you and glad you set that up with the products that you need there. Now, another thing to keep in mind, fighting CPS is like doing open heart surgery. If you're going to try to repair your heart yourself, use your hands and open up the stomach cavity, or not the stomach, but the chest cavity, and take the heart out and work on it, you won't be very successful. It takes a special doctor to do that. Same thing goes true for having a world class attorney that will address all your concerns. It's a tough situation there, but there is no right way or wrong way. For 5 years, I was constantly answering their claims that we're in danger of children. In 5 years, they couldn't say we did anything, and they asked with the most um, awkward time. They come to you and they demand things. You think you have to follow their law and order, and apparently, law order in a lot of law matters, it becomes really complex. And fighting CPS without a lawyer, or fighting with somebody who cannot do well, like a court appointed attorney, is hard. Um, you're like Alice in Wonderland. You fall in the rabbit hole, you met the Chester cat, and you're going from room to room, going nowhere. And that's what CPS is like. Not all CPS is like that, but a lot of them are. It's $1 trillion business. They make trillions of dollars off you by having your kids in custody. It's ridiculous how much money is wasted. And yes, we'll suddenly figure that out shortly when okay. Um I was thinking, I haven't talked about my rules that much lately. And since we have nobody calling in and no one in the chat has any more questions for me, I'll go over my rules. Rule number one is you need to get an attorney. That is the key to your success, because you're dealing with a very corrupt entity. They're so corrupt and they're not transparent, and they're very revengeful. So when you want to get an attorney, you want to get at least 3 quotes. One of them could be Mr. Davis, because he qualifies for what you look for in a CPS attorney. It should be an experienced attorney with a background in juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. That's all there should be there. All the other areas of laws will end up slowing you down. You don't need all the other areas. You just need that one I talked about. And so you must get it. You probably say, wait a minute, they gave me a court-appointed attorney. Well, a court-appointed attorney is an attorney that is appointed free for the court because the family may not have enough money, but also it takes in a lot of the vegetation and the odd number of plants. It's time to get through it. Time to get through it. Now, when you call them, the first step, though, is you do my Rule 5, which is the internet. It's very important you have your phrase or words correctly put into the browser. You start off with the city, and then you put the state, then you put the letters CPS, and then a lot of things will pop up. But if you refine that CPS, what you do is you backspace that, and you put in a whole new the attorney, once you find the list of them, because it goes city, state, CPS, and then you say a juvenile family law, dependency law attorney, and then a bunch of attorneys will pop up. Now, if you live in a small city like Athens, Georgia, put in Athens, Atlanta, Georgia, and you get better results. Once you got a list of names, you have to look through them. The ones that website, look them up, see which one it catches your attention. Then you got to make the phone call. And with each phone call, you have to ask two very important questions. Question one is, are they a legal professional juvenile attorney, family law, juvenile law attorney? And if they are, then that is great. Then what you do is you talk and you take notes and you call. And then you ask them the first question: are you a professional licensed juvenile family dependency lawyer and have won cases in CPS and got the children back? If the answer is yes, then you go to the next question. And that next question would be, is that after the case is closed, have you ever filed a lawsuit in state or federal court against CPS and won money back? If the answer is yes, then you got yourself a good, strong attorney, because most attorneys won't take it. Now, after you got an answer to that question, hopefully the answer is yes. The second question is you ask, when the case is closed, have you ever sued them in either state or federal court and won money back? If the answer is yes, then you got yourself a pit bull of attorney. Then you see them, and Vincent Davis is one of them. You'll see him, and you will talk to them and check out the references and see their background and so forth. And then you hire the right attorney. How it works is you give usually a retainer fee. The attorney has a set fee that they can charge you. So it's very, very, very important that you look at the details of picking an attorney. Don't rush into it with emotion. I had to wait a year before I got myself an attorney. It was Mr. Davis. I had to sell my house, do a quick sale. The money I got from the quick sale paid off my first and second mortgage, and then got money out to pay Vincent Davis so I could retain him. Now, it's very important with this attorney is you make sure they're doing everything they can. Now, for instance, if you run across your court-appointed attorney, you just, say, be nice to him, but, thankful, but you need that real attorney. You need that real attorney. And if you insist on using a court-appointed attorney, make them work. Insist that they protect you or you'll sue them for negligence. Or you also call the state bar attorney on attorneys and make a complaint into them. Now we're going kind of quiet in the room. I have my 2 thumbs up. That looks good there. We're talking about my rule number 1 there. My rule number 2 is the documents. It's so important to have a notebook to put all your documents in. You want to put it full of your court papers, and you want to start what's called an incident time log. It's about incidents. Anytime you encountered the police or social worker, it may be an incident. You write down the number, the date, the time, the people involved, and then you put down what was the problem. What was the problem? And you take the notes, and then you back them up and hang them down. Now, in that notebook, you want to put dividers to make it organized. and hang on to that notebook with you. Now, rule number 3 is the one I told you about: don't answer the door. And family members, you can develop a signal about how they get in, like multiple rings, multiple knocks, or whatever. But don't let them in. And don't say anything. You don't want them to know that you're at home. You just be quiet. Eventually they'll leave. You'll see what kind of paperwork they left. And then you'd contact your attorney and tell him what had just happened and how to start this off. That's what you do. Now, further in rule number 3 is that you don't talk to them and you don't let them in the house to walk around and sightsee, and you don't want to give them your child. Those are the things you should concentrate. Again, they have to have that important paper, the warrant, and it's got to spell it out specifically. You got to look at the warrant and read it. And it's really, really important. If you see them outside, tell them that you're going to get your court-appointed attorney and meet with them at a different time, but you want to have representation because you're going into a very heavy legal matter. Now, there's something also called medical trafficking. And that's where you go to the hospital, like urgent care or the emergency room, because your child's sick. Be careful. There are social workers that work in the hospital that will hear something and immediately want your child. Don't give your child. They need a warrant too. Just ignore them. Be nice, but ignore them. And also, if you're pregnant, you're going to have a baby delivered, don't have them show up in your room to try to take your baby. There is a court warrant that does say your baby's your own little castle. And but that's pretty much a medical trafficking. One thing I want to step back on that rule number 3: if you're outside and you encounter them in the yard, just be nice to them, but tell them that you need to have your attorney present and you need to see your attorney before you talk to them any further. And you go ahead and contact your attorney right away. It's a little bit of stalling tactic to give you more time. But whatever you do, don't let them in your house. Don't let them in your house. Don't let them take your children. Too many of you give your children away and your house away, which is really wrong. Now, rule number 4 I mentioned already is how to research the internet. You should spend 60 to 80 hours there. And it's very important. These are rules I have not done. Any of these rules I wish I had done, because then I would have never had lost my children, would never been stolen. But you always start off with the city, then the state, and then your question, CPS, the letter CPS, and then your question. But if you want to be more specific, you can ask a CPS question. It's a lengthy question, and you go. See. So you got that research going, and after the letter CPS, you want to be more specific. You put, what is the 388 rule? What is the ICWA Act of 1978, the Indian Child Welfare Act? What is the ombudsperson? What is? See, you can research, and it's so valuable. The internet is so valuable. Okay, I have my last rule, rule number 5. Now, rule number 5 is where you get an envelope and stuff, copies of all your legal documents, marriage license, birth certificates, social security cards. This is of yourselves and your children and your husband, shot records, grade reports, any kind of medical reports or school reports that have any bearing on a serious matter. Put copies of that. So you have it ready available along with your notebook. Because your case is going to last at least 2 years or even longer. And, they move at a snail's pace, that's for sure. All right. I have right now, time is almost up, so I'm going to take my phone number down because no one wanted to call in. And you can call me later. I do now, after the podcast, before the podcast, I do coaching. I do the talk to anybody that wants to learn about CPS or the other, how to dissect a room. So with that envelope, you attach to the notebook and you carry it around with you. Make good copies because it will save you. So those are the 5 rules. Get an attorney. Get your notebook. Say no to CPS or police. Do not give them up your children. Watch out medical trafficking, urgent care and with your birth of your new child. And then the internet. Make sure you research and look it up. It's very important. Remember, you put the city, the state, and the letter CPS, and that should do you there. Okay, so those complete my 5 rules. If I had them, I would never have lost my child. I never would have lost my child. Now, have we got any more things there? Let me see here. Okay, Kim says she's driving and she can't type. So I understand that. Some of you are driving and you listen to me all kinds of ways. And I'm glad you do. I want to thank Kim Hancock for sharing her information to us. And thank you for coming from YouTube. I want to thank Margaret King for sharing all the things that the first Margaret scene, what I'm talking about, the one in Dublin, the one in just So, with that much said, it's time for me to end the podcast. It's after 11 o'clock. I want to thank all of you. Again, I want to thank Kim and Margaret for calling in. I want to thank, so nice to hear from Crystal Sandoval again. And Margaret, give me an update. Crystal's give me an update. Don't complain. Thank you for coming in. And Medina, I was glad to hear from you early part of the podcast. So God bless y'all. And thank you for listening to me. And I'll see you tonight. I will see you tonight.